If you're thinking about raising capital, here's a question that can save you time, money, and a lot of stress. Have you actually checked whether the capital you need is already sitting inside your business? Because for most companies, the first place to look is a bank or investors or a pitch deck. It's internal.
That sounds almost too simple. Like, if we needed cash, we'd know, right? But you're saying the business might already be funding itself, just inefficiently.
Exactly. And it's usually the cheapest capital you'll ever get, because you don't give up equity for it, you don't pay interest on it, and you don't spend months chasing it. You just unlock it. Today we're going to walk through where that capital hides, your financial statements, your margins, your processes, your customer and supplier mix, and your cash conversion cycle.
And I love this topic because it's also what investors and lenders are going to look at anyway. So even if you do decide to raise money later, doing this work first makes you a stronger, more credible business.
Let's start with a big idea. When people say they need capital, they often mean one of three things. 1, they're losing money and need to plug a hole. 2, they're profitable but cash is tight because of timing, like invoices take forever to get paid. Or 3, they have a real growth opportunity and need funds to scale.
And those are very different problems with very different solutions. But most people jump straight to, we need to raise.
Right. So step 1 is internal diagnostics. And the first tool is your profit and loss statement. Not just, did we make money, but where's the money being made and where's it leaking out?
So we're talking about margins, pricing, cost of goods, overhead, all of that.
Yes. For example, if your gross margin is thin, every dollar of revenue you add brings in very little cash to support the business. That's not a fundraising problem first. That's a margin problem. Maybe pricing hasn't kept up. Maybe discounts are out of control. Maybe your product mix is skewed toward low-margin work.
Or maybe it's not the product, it's the process. Like your team is spending hours delivering something that should take half the time, so labor is quietly eating the margin.
That's the perfect bridge to the next internal area, processes and metrics. A lot of capital needs are really productivity needs. If you can shave waste out of fulfillment, reduce rework, tighten purchasing, or improve scheduling, you can free up cash without borrowing a dollar.
Okay, but let's hit the balance sheet too, because that's where I think people get surprised. The P&L might look fine, and then the bank says, no, and the founder says, but we're profitable.
Exactly. Profit and cash are cousins, not twins. The balance sheet tells you where cash is stuck. The biggest places are usually accounts receivable, inventory, and sometimes prepaid expenses or bloated fixed costs. Let's talk receivables first. How quickly are you getting paid?
This is where the cash in and out cycle comes in, right? You pay suppliers, you deliver, then you wait, and wait, and wait.
Yes. Imagine you're profitable on paper, but you're floating customers for 45, 60, 90 days. That gap is effectively you lending money to your customers. And if you can tighten it, even a little, that can create a huge internal cash release.
So what are practical moves? Not theory. What do businesses actually do?
A few examples. Invoice immediately, not at the end of the week. Set clear payment terms and enforce them. Offer multiple payment methods, so it's easy to pay. Follow up earlier. Consider deposits or progress billing. And here's a big one. Look at which customers consistently pay late. Your customer mix matters.
Let's pause on that. Customer mix is a form of capital strategy.
Yes, because 2 customers can generate the same revenue, but one pays in 10 days with low support needs, and the other pays in 90 days and drains your team. The second customer isn't just a sales decision. They're a working capital burden.
That's such a mindset shift. You're basically saying, not all revenue is equally valuable. Cash timing and effort count.
Exactly. And inventory is another classic cash trap. Too much inventory means cash sitting on shelves. Too little inventory means lost sales and chaos. The goal is right-size inventory aligned to demand, lead times, and reliability.
And then on the other side of the cycle, you've got suppliers. People don't always think supplier terms are capital, but they absolutely are.
Supplier mix and payment terms are huge. If you're paying suppliers in 10 days, but customers pay you in 60, you're financing the whole chain. Sometimes the capital raise you need is negotiating better terms, consolidating vendors, or improving purchasing discipline so you're not rush ordering everything at a premium.
So in plain English, internal capital can come from getting paid faster, holding less unnecessary inventory, and paying smarter without damaging relationships.
Right, and also from improving margins. Let's go back to margins for a second, because people get nervous about pricing. But pricing is one of the fastest levers for cash if you have the value. Even a small improvement in gross margin can reduce your need for outside capital dramatically.
But you have to know your numbers. Like, not I think we make about 30%, but truly know by product line, by service, by customer segment.
Yes, this is where metrics come in. If all you look at is total revenue and total expenses, you miss the story. You want to see margins by offering, by channel, by customer type, even by geography if it matters. Then you can make decisions like, we should sell more of this, or we should stop doing that, or we need to change how we deliver this.
And sometimes the answer is surprisingly boring. Like tightening expense controls, canceling tools no one uses, renegotiating insurance, eliminating waste.
Boring is beautiful when it improves cash. But here's the important nuance. We're not talking about cutting your way to greatness. We're talking about aligning spending with what actually drives profit and cash.
Okay, so we've covered P&L, balance sheet, margins, processes, customer and supplier mix, and the cash cycle. Now let's address the moment when you do all this and still need outside capital. What then?
Then outside capital becomes a targeted tool, not a vague rescue mission. You define a specific need. We need capital to buy equipment that increases capacity by X. Or, we need a working capital line because we have seasonal demand and predictable receivables. Or, we're entering a new market and we need cash to fund inventory and marketing for a defined ramp period.
And if you've done your internal homework, your story is stronger. You can say, here are our margins, here's how we improved collections, here's our inventory turns, here's our operating rhythm. That's what lenders and investors want to see.
Exactly. They're going to explore these areas anyway. So doing it first means you walk into those conversations with credibility. It also helps you avoid raising too much or too little, or taking money at a price you didn't need to accept.
So let's give listeners a simple checklist they can do this week. If you're thinking about raising capital, what are the first internal questions?
Here's a solid starting list. 1. What are our gross margin by product or service, and what's driving changes? 2. Where are our biggest operating expenses, and are they tied to growth or just habit? 3. How fast do customers pay, and who are the chronic late payers? 4. How much cash is tied up in inventory, and what's obsolete or slow moving? 5. What are our supplier terms, and can we negotiate or restructure purchasing? 6. What does our cash conversion cycle look like end to end, from paying suppliers to collecting from customers? And 7. Which processes create rework, delays, or unnecessary labor?
And if you answer those, you might find you don't need to raise at all, or at least not as much as you thought.
Yes, because the point isn't to avoid outside capital forever. It's to treat it as a deliberate choice. Start inside, unlock the cheapest capital first, and then, if you need more, go outside with a clear plan.
That's the episode. If you're listening and you're in we need money mode, take a breath and go internal first. Your financials aren't just reports. They're a map to hidden cash.
And the best part? When you run the business this way, you're not just hunting for cash. You're building a healthier company. We'll see you next time.